Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another movie commentary. My name is Jimmy Good, and you are here, Critical Reviews, hanging out with us. And this movie was actually chosen by one of our lovely patrons, Simon. Thank you so much, Simon, our Centurion. He's like, you're going to do Spider-Man, I think. We'll do Spider-Man 2, maybe do Spider-Man 1, and I think I'm just going to do Spider-Man 3. So I'm sorry for the delay in all of these, but let's watch this movie together. So if you're going to watch along at home, let's figure out where to start here. It says 7 seconds. I'm looking at the nice lady holding up the torch and whatnot, but maybe you're just going to listen to this at work and it doesn't matter. So let's go. Let's get started. Here we go. All right. Got that Danny Elfman score kicking in the strings. I remember seeing this back in theaters and, way back. And I remember the actual waiting room to get in, the lobby area was just packed with people and they all wanted to see this. And it was just like the start for me for how crazy the superhero phase was going to be. Like X-Men kind of kicked it off in a way, and there's Blade and stuff too, but this was like, here we go, Spider-Man. Oh my gosh, it's friggin' Spider-Man. I love it so much. And I'm a good-sized Spider-Man fan, as you'd say. I wouldn't say I'm the biggest or anything like that, but medium-sized Spider-Man fan. No, I really like Spidey. Spidey's really cool. And this was kind of my introduction in a way besides the 90s cartoon. This is the one that kind of hit me at that perfect time. And this was back 2002, I believe, right around Lord of the Rings time as well. So it's just that perfect time in these kind of really poignant films in my childhood to hit. And I love this intro. I love the music and everything. I know some people get bothered by how long it takes and all this stuff. And in the second one, it's better because it kind of recaps the first film. But I like this. This is great. Also, just for everyone who wants to know a little behind the scenes, I'm actually watching an old DVD, so I'm looking at a standard definition, and it's it's pretty funny. It's, kind of like the episodes of Frasier I've been watching lately. I do like kind of his suit and how he's punching through the webs. And this suit is maybe my favorite Spider-Man suit. It just looks so cool. Something about the eyes make him look so tough and intimidating. And I remember one of the years for the Winter Olympics for the United States, they actually kind of had web design on the skiers and whatnot. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. Little kind of tease there of the Green Goblin. I think probably my favorite Spider-Man villain, one of my favorite just villains of all time. And I tell people he's kind of like Joker meets Lex Luthor, and Willem Dafoe perfectly cast to do that. Yeah, these old kind of title or these kind of credits in the beginning, this is old school, how movies kind of used to start back in the day, and just kind of going through this old kind of weird CG. Yeah, and this is such a good build-up, too, because, when you're in theaters and you're, waiting to see this, it's just, you're just getting little kind of hints and teases at what's going to come. You're just not really prepared fully. This was kind of another thing with the times, too, is that you kind of would see this, in front of X-Men, just kind of big CG intro, where it was just kind of 2 minutes or 3 minutes of just kind of panning around different imagery, and you didn't really know exactly what everything was, but yeah, I kind of miss it, but at the same time, I like just getting right to it. Ooh, here we go. I do want to know, Toby. Now, I know Tobey Maguire gets a lot of guff for being not the greatest Spider-Man. He doesn't have as many quips or anything, but I really like how he portrays actually Peter Parker. He's one of those guys I really could, sympathize with, empathize with. And that was something that, I didn't really feel with Andrew Garfield's portrayal of the character in Amazing Spider-Man. Now, a lot of these actors are older than high school, and that's kind of obvious, but at the same time, I do like that this film doesn't focus just on him, Peter Parker, being in high school. It actually shows the transition from him to moving into, college. Now, there's kind of the rumor or kind of the idea that Tobey Maguire is not the easiest guy to work with on set, which is unfortunate, sad to hear. Joe Manganiello, by the way, right there. Deathstroke, or could have been. And then obviously Kirsten Dunst as Mary Jane Watson. I think for me, Mary Jane is the most palatable in this first film because in 2 and 3, she becomes increasingly more of like an antagonist to Peter, and she just gets worse and worse, and it's just, it's a bummer. I love this because I've had this happen to me too, and I'm sure everybody watching has had this happen too, where somebody waves, and you think they're waving at you, so you wave back at them, and then there's people behind you, and you're like, oh, you feel like such an idiot. Now, for some odd reason, everybody hates Peter. I don't know why, but everybody just does. Except for Harry. And here we go. There's my boy Willem Dafoe. Look at him. He's a perfect Norman Osborn. I love it. Oh, gosh. It's a really good job setting up to that they have this strained relationship and how quick Norman is to kind of taking Peter under his wing, because Peter's everything he wants, in a son. How have they not met yet? Come on. Something of a scientist myself. So cool. I love that right there. He kind of, asks him like if he understood everything that he was talking about in this, published work. But it's not a condescending way. He's just like, whoa, cool. You're a high school that understood my nanotech research. That's sweet. So, as someone who used to work in, various science labs, first off, this is like the coolest science lab, like almost anywhere. But then it's also kind of a bummer that they like have these spiders just hanging out and around, and apparently they're not doing a really good job of keeping them like actually, I don't know, contained. Yeah. I like how these guys just hate him so much. And they're all like 35. So, one thing that Spider Man I always thought was kind of weird is actually the web shooters. I thought, the classic version where he actually has web shooters was kind of dumb. I know that's against what everybody else like kind of loves and knows, but I do. Oh, by the way, I love that line. His father will fire your father. I use that a lot in my real life. Anyway, I really like in this one that it's organic, because that's the most spidery thing that Spider-Man can have for me besides like sticking to walls. I really enjoy that. And it's also fun in 2 how they get to kind of play with it as like an emotional or mental block and make it that he can't use his, webs. Now, right there talking about camouflage and stuff, I don't know if that's kind of a little wink towards Miles Morales in a way. I like how, Harry basically starts to flirt and hang out with MJ and then also date her just because, like, Peter was kind of interested and he kind of dared Harry to go talk to her. I do like that Harry is right here, right away in the beginning, too. I think that's kind of a crucial element to Spider Man. And that's something we still haven't seen yet as of this recording for Tom Holland's version in the MCU. But rumors have it that that's coming. Yeah, you guys need to get this locked down. These spiders cost money. I love it. I love just watching the kid get chastised in a movie. Ah, it's too funny. And thus begins the weirdest relationship. No, it's not that weird. It's kind of the classic standard, boy meets girl, and you know, at least in the beginning here, it's a little more innocent, which is nice. Also, throughout the rest of the film, keep in mind the extras, because there's some really funny extras in this movie. So keep looking in the background if you're watching at home, if this isn't your first time watching it. Because if it is your first time watching it, you should probably focus on the foreground and the characters and stuff. Now, once again, I think they get this whole kind of, spider bite a lot more correct is the best way of putting it. It's just a better version of this in this film. Again, in Amazing Spider-Man, it's so weird. He goes into like a room with a ton of different like spiders and webs and stuff. It's just so weird. He's like, probably should get that looked at, but I'm not going to get it looked at. Let's do it. I used to watch this movie so much when I was younger. Oh my gosh. And one thing I like about this one that they've tried to kind of replicate in other ones, but not to the same effect, is that we get two origin stories here kind of simultaneously with the hero and the villain. It's not like they kind of shoehorn the villain in like halfway through or at the end. I really also like the look of the glider. I don't know why the guy on it's wearing such a weird suit or like the mask thing. And Willem Dafoe does such a good job of kind of skirting this line with Norman that he's charismatic, he's intelligent, but there's also an edge to him. It's good stuff. And this guy, for some odd reason, this colonel or general, just hates Norman too. Back to formula, right? So good. Back to formula. I love that so much. We have my predecessor to thank for that. I wonder what Slocum's predecessor was all about. I also like the Oscorp lab. Like, you can already kind of get the vibe that it's villainous, but it's so much more military grade. It's like all concrete. And, obviously it's a weapons testing facility, so it's going to be different than a spider testing facility, but still there's just kind of this vibe in it that's more Jurassic Park-like. Oh, goodness. Talk about some perfect casting. This movie is so well cast, and two of those people are obviously Uncle Ben and Aunt May. It's like the perfect Uncle Ben. Ugh. I like it. And also, they kind of have that classic, like, old school, like, New York home. It's just like everything in there is already dated, and it was already dated back in like the early 2000s, 1990s. So good. Yeah, good Uncle Ben. Again, not to keep comparing it to Amazing Spider-Man. Michael Sheen is fine, and Sally Field's fine as well, but just not the same. These two, so good. Yeah, I like them. Yeah, the older I get, though, the more I realize that Tobey Maguire is definitely not like 18 in this movie. Gotta crash. Say that next time somebody asks you if you're gonna like go take a nap or lay down for a bit. You're like, gotta crash. Look at how just like pale and pasty and just weak. Because spiders make you juiced and make you stronger. Another sign of the times here as we jump into this kind of like weird, like, kind of flashing kind of montage almost. Also, I like how the bite has increased on his hand. And, like, you start to see, like, these skulls and stuff here. It's so funny. Like, is he seeing this? I don't think so, but... But again, we're getting this simultaneously alongside our villain, which, you know, and most of, like, look at the Marvel films, it's like the villain is going to copy the hero's powers, but gets it, like, halfway through the movie. I also like that Norman, like, is forcing this and he's going to do it himself. Now, apparently Quest, the rival company to Oscorp, is actually a company that Marvel purchased a long time ago, but they make remote control vehicles and stuff. It's kind of a fun little nod. I like how also he's going like full crazy scientist. He's like breaking glassware and stuff. But he's realistic about it because like when he puts these metal pieces on, he's like, ooh, cold. Like, I like that. Also, if Strom was completely against this, he wouldn't be here doing this, which is crazy to me. But it pays off a lot better than that. There's kind of like this anger tilt to the whole thing. With Norman kind of saying, back to formula. Thankfully, the Green Goblins perfected this, so they didn't need someone to help them out later on. Yeah, Willem Dafoe just such a good actor. I would love to see him cameo in a Spider-Man film. The internet would go crazy though. So yeah, so this Goblin formula basically is just like steroids that make you crazy. Which, not really ideal. Now, this movie is very corny and it plays into its comic book roots a lot, but it's not ashamed of it. I love that noise it makes. Also, how did he get out of those restraints? He's nuts. Yeah, I would imagine, and I've heard from some of the people who get to play villains specifically, like in this trilogy, they get to have all the fun because they get to just be crazy and kind of go insane and really go over the top. This is the first time, too, in one of these superhero movies that I can remember where I was like, oh my gosh, like, this dude got ripped. Like, it's commonplace now, but back in the day, you didn't see this transformation as much. You wouldn't normally see like a before and after, but like this, you're like, he got cut, you know. If only Norman Osborn knew about the spiders. Again, I think Tobey Maguire does a good job of kind of, you know, showing off what it would be like, you know, back in the early 2000s as like he's a nerd that just gets transformed overnight and learning how to deal with that power and using it recklessly and kind of getting a little boastful. That's a good little trick right there too. Ah, Uncle Ben. You don't get to hang out with him too much, but man, he does such a killer job. Jeez. MJ's dad is not a very lovable guy. Also, how far do they have to walk into town to get to the bus? I don't know, it's like in New York, man, but it seems a little off to me. Also, Peter, what are you doing? You look like a crazy person, standing like, what, 40 feet away, and talking like this? Come on, man. Also, why does this bus driver hate Peter, too? Like, is the bus driver that mean as well? I feel like Peter has like a case against this bus driver. You know what I mean? Like, would probably get fired for stuff like this, but what do I know? He's like, these darn posters are so sticky. And again, we kind of keep ping ponging back and forth between Peter and Norman, which I really, really enjoy. I also like how the entire, like, kind of penthouse is like all like this kind of forest green and all these masks everywhere, kind of alluding to the future. It's such a cool, like, look, I think, for the Osborn mansion, or penthouse, I should say. Also, the Green Goblin must have redressed himself. It's weird. Watch out for Bernard over there. Also, don't they have any cameras or security? Like, did he wipe all that? He must have. Like, seems like the only person who clocked in that night besides Dr. Strom was Norman. But again, I guess they probably would have shut all of that off so they could do the tests. Now, apparently, they did this actually, and it took about 156 takes. And they had a bunch of kind of adhesive stuff on the bottom of all of the kind of food and stuff. So that is all real, I guess, which is crazy. 156 though. That's a lot. That's a lot of times to catch Kirsten Dunst in one arm and try to catch all the stuff on the tray. Also, not just great reflexes. That was incredible. Like, don't belittle that. Just be like, "Oh my gosh. I can't believe you did that. Amazing." Also, kind of a fun, like, kind of allegory for going through puberty too, with all these powers that he gets. Like, he just doesn't know what to do at all. He was awkward before, and now it's just like cranked to the max. Also, if I were Peter, I would try to detach that from my arm because, like what does Flash think happened? Like, you know, it's like, Peter, come on, man. Barker? Deathstroke? Is that you? I wouldn't want to go after this guy because he seems nuts to me. He just threw food at me and he's sitting right behind me and it was attached to a rope. Also, the kind of the first time we get to see the spider sense here. The thing that's always been crazy to me is I don't care how angry you are at somebody. Flash comes in and he punches this locker and he dents it. Like, that would be so painful. Is Flash's shirt clean now? Alright, watch the extras in the background, everybody. Oh, look at that guy. He's excited. But I love this, too, just kind of looking at that fist come through, like in slow-mo. Too many flips, though, for that. It's a little too weird. Oh, yeah, sure, it's dirty. I like how his buddy just kind of backs out. He's like, eh. I like the blocks, and then I like him just twisting his arm. I think that's really cool. And of course, that teacher drops all that stuff in his face. Ah, poor Flash Thompson. Will he ever be a perfect unity with Venom? I like how Harry's the only one who's like, that was pretty cool, man. The guy with the glasses. It's so funny. Also, Peter would probably, like, some teachers would have probably tried to wrangle him for detention and might have tried to prevent him from leaving, but I guess he's got Spider-Man powers, so he can sneak away. My reasoning for liking the webbing, besides it being organic and very spidery, is I like that more so than just being like, oh, I ran out of, my webs. Like, I don't have any more things to, like, shoot webs with. That's weird to me. I also like the actual physical representation there of his sticking ability. Like, they're kind of little hooks on his hands. I always remember that being cool. And the Danny Elfman music coming in perfectly here. And him just kind of figuring out his powers in such a fun way. I don't know how they go through his shoes, but they just do. Now, there's some spotty CGI in here for sure. It's not perfect, but, for the time, it was okay. But nowadays, it's pretty noticeable. Now, this little comedic bit, kind of enjoy, especially if you are, an okay superhero fan. It's a few little things here that are fun. Kind of a little name drop here. See right there, 2 DC ones, Superman and Shazam. Now I understand still that it is kind of weird that he could like make an infinite amount of webbing, but that's part of the superpower, all right? I do like that he thinks that this is a good idea to try this here. Like, he's a pretty smart kid, but this is like, what, it's like a pendulum. Like, what's he think is going to happen? Like, he's just going to swing to that? Like, come on, man. Tally ho. I love it. See, this is so great because you get it, and it's just like, bam, drops down, and then it just cuts to night, and you just know that he was knocked out there for like a couple hours, which is so good. But in New York, you wouldn't really pay mind to somebody doing that. You just be like, yep, it's New York. And poor Uncle Ben did the whole thing himself. You selfish person, Peter. And like, they didn't try to find him. Cell phones weren't as prevalent back in the day. There's like, it'll be fine. Michelangelo, meatloaf, and veggies in ovens. Like, it's so nice. Like, they trusted him. They weren't like trying to send the cops out to find him. Man, every window Peter looks out in this house, something's happening at the Watsons. Also, if they lived next door, I feel like they would have probably had more interactions than just like the 2 they've had in the past, like, or 3 they had in like the past 2 days. Also, without the glasses now and this jacket, Peter looks like his real age now, or I should say Tobey Maguire's age. He does not look like an 18-year-old. I think the chemistry between these two is not bad. Yeah. Peter is kind of scary. He's kind of a scary dude. It's a little forced, I guess, this kind of back and forth. I think, again, in 2, they hit their stride a little bit more. It's a little bit more believable. But I believe, like Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone, these two were seeing each other for a time during this process. I don't remember when, though. MJ, believe in your dreams, and they might come true. Believe in yourself, and they will. If you want to act on stage, why don't you try out for plays and stuff? Come on. Why did Peter cry when she was Cinderella? That's something that's always bothered me. I'm like, what? How does that even work? Why were you crying, Peter? Now, it kind of makes sense here why she's drawn to Peter, because he is maybe one of the only real connections she has in her life that isn't abusive or aggressive. And he kind of gives her hope. And he is just obviously infatuated with her. And she almost does light up Broadway. I hunch. Why would you say that, Pete? Now, again, up until this point, we didn't have a lot of, like, stellar romances here, you know, as far as, like, superhero films go. So this is kind of... I don't want to say it's the baseline, because you can look back at, you know, Batman and stuff, but... I'm pretty sure that's a Prowler? Is that what he's driving? Is it a Prowler? Can we confirm what Flash is driving? I'd be like, hey, Flash, what up? What up, buddy? Hey, don't scratch the leather, and then he jumps up and over the door? Also, you could tell here with the cars how dated this film is, but Peter, I like you, but like getting a car is not going to be the thing that like gets you a date with MJ. It's great because he's like, I need like $3,000, and it's like, hey, amateur wrestling, 3 minutes in the ring, $3,000. And I love just in his mind, he's like, okay, MJ and a car, yeah. Now, I believe he also drew a lot of these himself, which is really cool. Maybe all of them. The real question I always had was, how did he ever get the materials? Because this was in a time before Amazon and stuff, and not that you couldn't order things, but I just thought, you know, it's an interesting thing when he finally gets like his full-fledged suit. But I think this is really cool because this is kind of like, if you got superpowers and were a teenager, you would probably be sitting for like nights on end, like designing your look. It's really cool. I like it. It's a little montage, but I like it a lot. Also, something we don't see too often too is usually in superhero movies they go out into nature to try their powers out, or they're in a like a lab or something. But Peter doesn't have anywhere else to go, so he's just like in his room, just doing that, like figuring it out. I'm exercising in my room, out, man. What a weirdo. And then also like he webs up his whole room. Come on, man. What are you doing? A little Daily Bugle before we actually even see the inside of the Daily Bugle. Now, this is around the same time, obviously, that we had Andy Serkis in his dual performance of Smeagol and Gollum. But I think Willem Dafoe does an excellent job of also doing kind of a similar thing. Also, I didn't realize this before, but Uncle Ben being kind of a forced into retirement electrician, and he's actually kind of playing around with electrical stuff. It's great. Uncle Ben, just trying to be a good father figure. I love him. I didn't think about it, but when I was in New York a few years ago, I walked by that library, I believe, and I didn't realize that right across the street is probably where they, you know, filmed this, potentially. So cool. I love this. Well, you sure as hell finished it. Thanks, Ben. I love it. Oh, I gotta be quiet during this part. It's very important. It's so good. I love that Ben says that with so much like earnesty in his voice. Ugh. I kind of wish we would have had a little bit more in the montage of him making the costume of him kind of shirking his chores and not talking to them. Ugh. Uncle Ben, I'm sorry. Yep, I love it. It's good stuff. Now, I don't quite know if this is like some sort of like underground fighting ring, but they were advertising in the newspapers. Oh, Bonesaw. Yeah. Yeah, Bonesaw. I love that people have like these little saws and stuff. Now, here we have this guy who may or may not be Mysterio. Apparently, the plan for him was to be Mysterio in Spider-Man 4. Like they were kind of, he was going to bring him in at the beginning. Like Spider-Man will just, captured him because we see him throughout the other like films. But oh well, never happened. The NYWL Wrestling League. Okay, yeah, sure. I also like how they don't show you because at this point you probably think that he's got the actual full Spider-Man suit. Man, Bonesaw must be like really, really jacked because and have tons of endurance because the guy's just fighting again and again and again. The human spider. The Amazing Spider-Man. Nailed it. He got my name wrong. That's just Tobey Maguire right there. He's like, they got my name wrong. I kid you. It's kind of sad that like, do all these ladies just like scream anybody comes down here? Huh. And the Flying Dutchman will never walk again, apparently. They've got signs to say kill him. File under D for dead. Oh, this guy. There's like some extras in this movie who just get to yell like one thing, like just super obvious stuff, and stuff like that is just so funny to me. Again, best case scenario here for Spidey. He doesn't think it is, but it is. Doors, it looks like you're just kind of like locking up like the support columns. Ah, such an iconic scene. Okay, that joke I know a lot of people have problems with nowadays. But you got to remember when this movie was made, and that for someone who is super, macho, that a quip like that would definitely get to him, which it does on this guy, but it doesn't really help Peter in this moment. I don't know what they call him, Bonesaw, but also how did they just let Peter into this even though they didn't even check and see if he was an adult? Hey man, Jackrabbit methodology there. Just kick them in the face till they're down. Oh, I didn't notice that Peter's got like old Nikes on. How did that ref get in there? Was the ref in there the whole time? These are thoughts I have. And see, look at that. Peter, for the first time, getting it, like, his new powers, using them and winning and being the center of attention and people love him. Man, that crowd turned on Bonesaw pretty quickly. This guy's just counting his money. Webhead, there we go. 100 for 2 minutes, you'd think $2,000. And so begins Peter's quest for vengeance. Put the money in the bag, right? One thing I don't like, and it's not such a big offense in this film, but I hate when bad guys get super close with a gun to somebody. It's just like, a gun can shoot across a room. Now, unlike some of the superhero films we have today, and I'm not saying that they all have this, but some of my favorites, more like the Captain America ones, have more kind of nuance and subtlety in the conflict. But here we just get your straightforward, kind of black and white morality here. There's not really a gray area in this film presented. It's just like, hey, Peter did a vengeful thing, and he immediately pays for it. Oh, poor Uncle Ben. Ugh. Uncle Ben. It's too much. He does such a good job here. You buy it. I'm not talking about Toby. Oh, it's just heart-wrenching. You're like, oh my gosh. Especially after the last conversation they had. And it's not even like he gets to say I love you or tell Aunt May I love her. It's just he says Peter's name twice and he's gone. It's like, oh my goodness. Are you kidding? Now, one thing to kind of expedite learning how to use superpowers is having kind of this emotional, tilt, and just you watch kind of a character that's like have to like use their powers. It's a do or die situation. And even though he doesn't have the suit yet and some of the CG doesn't look super great here, it is kind of cool to see him just get really angry and be like, you know what? No, I'm going to go find this dude. And you can just kind of see that he is just angry and frustrated. And he's like, I'm going to get him. Again, very obvious that this is CGI, but at the time wasn't so bad. And the camera work, too. You'll notice that, too, throughout Sam Raimi's trilogy. He is what a lot of people like to call like a wizard with the camera. Like you get this kinetic sense of motion. And I do like how the shirt on Peter does kind of move around a lot. Like the CG, like that looks pretty good. And now here we're doubling down on what happened earlier. The use of strings too in the music. Ugh, so good. Yeah. And I kind of like the choir or the choral music kind of making Spidey almost angelic. Caught up to those cop cars real fast, though. Like, how much money did this guy get away with? Like, is it really worth, the Grand Theft Auto charge, reckless endangerment? Again, though, if you saw this in New York, you wouldn't be surprised. Just be like, yep, just some guy swinging around. Loey just rips into the car. He's just like, I'm taking this. Taking your face, dude. See, if I'm the robber, the thief right now, I'm thinking, I'm done. Some dude just jumped on top of my car. Bunch of cops after me. It's a great jump there, Pete. Yeah, and I love that you can see in his eyes, he's just so hateful. Again, this guy's doing like a grand last stand with like, what, a couple grand in money there? It's not that much. But he's desperate. I like to see him reload that, though. Kind of a little Batman-esque here. First time we kind of see him hanging upside down, which is fun. Now, Sam Raimi known more so for his horror films and kind of the physicality and the brutality of that, and you get that in a lot of these fights. Like, there's this such good sound design, but just all the hits and stuff feel like, oh my gosh. I'm trying to remember if the first time I saw this, if I realized that it was the same guy right away or not. And like that's the worst part is the fact that he was like, thanks, and like he helped him. It's weird they show Uncle Ben there, like, being shot, but he was already on the ground. I don't know. Yeah, see, don't point a gun like that. You're asking to get your arm messed up. Kind of the same thing he did to Flash, too. So the question is, did Peter kill that guy? Technically, no. Guy backed up, fell on a pipe. But Pete's like, whatever, man. It's like, well, he's sneaking out. Now, here is where I feel like the movie starts in earnest. Like, we're truly getting into the core Spider-Man stuff. Because now we've had, Peter get his powers, Norman's gotten his powers, we've lost Uncle Ben, and now we get to kind of see what's Peter going to do. And in origin films, for me, I tend to like the sequels because we hit the ground running. We already have the information. And this is where, for me, I really like to start to get into the movie. And it's kind of more of my favorite stuff. Because the origin stuff's fine. The beginnings, the humble beginnings, they're great. But I also like when we are, in the thick of it. Now, these yahoos at Quest Aerospace have made the dumbest mech suit I've ever seen. See, but the exoskeleton, it doesn't have the same maneuverability as the glider, and then they also don't get the cool formula. Look at that thing. Why do you hate Norman Osborn so much, man? And look at this thing. Ugh. I think it gets shot out of the sky in like a second. Man, his laugh must be so loud. I love that we get a little tease of the goblin, and then we just jump to graduation. Hey, there's that extra over there with the glasses. He shook one person's hand and waved at the others and left him. Oh, so Norman bought them that apartment, huh? It's a nice tie, though, Norman. I feel like Peter kind of looks like Norman's kid. I also like that we skip right over Uncle Ben's funeral. Like, we go right to this. And Harry right here, feeling kind of vengeful against Peter and jealous of Peter's, like, the love that he gets and attention from his father, decides to go after MJ. It's like, huh. It makes sense. It moves quickly. They don't belabor these points. They're just moving and shaking, which, again, I appreciate. It's tough. You can already feel, at least for me, a little bit in the house, that Uncle Ben's gone. Obviously Peter's crying and stuff, but like when they kind of walk in and stuff, you just kind of like this warmth that used to be there. It's just like, nope. And unfortunately, we didn't get more time with the three of them to really feel that and drive it home. Peter has a periodic table on the wall over there. What a cool guy. I'm trying to think of how long or how much time has transpired between graduation and Uncle Ben's death. Can't be super long, though. Again, Rosemary Harris doing a great job as Aunt May. She'll always be my Aunt May. I love Marissa Tomei, though. Don't get me wrong. It's just a different take. But here we go. Finally, kind of him realizing that he was going to do great things. And oh, man. And this score is so freaking good. I don't remember if he says, remember that, Pete, remember that, but still. They kind of had this interesting rig for the camera too, like where they actually were swinging it through downtown New York, which is really cool. Also, I kind of like these classic comic booky like robbers. And Spidey's just going to work. I love this. These little interviews here and there. It's so funny. Again, like you can almost take this shot right out of a comic book panel. Like, that guy's like, he thinks I don't like him, and I'm pretty sure he's one of these thieves. We're coming up here. I think this is Xena. So funny. Looks like a bug. Why don't y'all just give him one big hug? Look out. Here comes a Spider-Man. It's too funny. Also, why are the eyes right there reflective? Oh, and here we go. J.K. Simmons. One of the best cast comic book characters of all time. Oh, it's so good. I also like too that Jonah's right hand here actually really respects Spider-Man and kind of figures it out later on too. Elizabeth Banks right there, kind of getting her start. They name drop Eddie there. I don't know if that's supposed to be Eddie Brock. It might be. Oh my gosh, yeah, perfectly cast. So good. Peter's like, I know that person. Now this must be the fall, I guess. Because he's going to college now? There's so many people who are after MJ. Ugh. Actually, this is probably in the summer, I guess, because Harry and her just started going out. Well done, Peter. Played it off perfectly. For some reason, when she calls him Pete, I always get such a like a friend zone vibe. I don't know. Does he ever go get that Moondance coffee, though? Deleted scene, I'm sure. Hey, Peter, you should be out fighting crime, man. Are we going to get one of my favorite lines here? Storm and Norman making his weekly inspection? Oh, wait for it. Wait for it. Here it comes. I did it. Oh my gosh, yes. Another one of my favorite lines. I quote this movie a lot. Also, they have a killer apartment for New York. I can't imagine how much that thing actually costs. Like nowadays, oh my goodness. Dr. Connors, again, kind of a nod towards the lizard, and then we'll see Dr. Connors in the next two films. Oh, I love that they gang up on Harry here. Oh, it's so good. They're both just like giving him so much shade. I love that. Quickly deflects, and Norman's like, perfect, I'd love to have you work for me. Even when Harry's trying to deflect, Norman's still just like, I love Peter. He's like, I respect that you don't want a job, you don't want a handout. Now, I always thought the guy who's like, he stinks and I hate him from the kind of like the people, like little montage of people just like saying stuff to different civilians. I always thought that guy was one of these dudes. Yeah, Spidey just broke that man's ribs. I love these pictures are like perfect. And Jameson's just like, yep, they suck. They crap. I like how his right hand man had told him like stop before Jameson was going to. Said he had a nice box of Christmas meat. Ah, so good. I like that Pete is always awkward. Like he just can't help it. Oh, I love this part too. It's just so good. What? It's so rough. I love this part. Do you know how much I sacrificed? It's so good. You see a little bit of that crazy goblin. Ugh. You're out, Norman. See, I feel like he's justified now in killing that guy at least. Like he was crazy before, but like oh my gosh. So good. Little Macy Gray action, man. Yeah. Yeah, look at these extras. Keep your eyes in the back. The World Unity Festival. Also, Macy Gray did just rhyme day with me or May. I like MJ's kimono. It's pretty cool. You just figured out that she wasn't wearing the black dress? You dummy. Ooh. She's like, nope. And he looks down and sees Peter. Like, oh, he's so petty. I don't know how his spider sense works. I guess he just senses danger, but. Oh, man. My problem is I love the Green Goblin, like we talked about. And I actually even like the new Goblin, quote unquote, that we get in Spider Man 3. But in Amazing Spider Man 2, we had not a great representation of Green Goblin. And I just want to see the classic Norman Osborn Green Goblin again, like this, but just new age, you know? I don't know how and when he had time to make the mask. I guess he had time, but like, how did he decide that? I guess his alter ego did? Still. It's just so good. I like how he comes. He's like he touches one of the balloons. Like, uh, and the reason I love the Green Goblin, he's got the tech mixed with kind of the science background, the biochemical engineering. It's just so great. He's such a good mixture of stuff. Ooh, Stanley making one of his first cameos, maybe his actual first cameo. Also, I don't understand how Peter can justify like coming to this Unity Festival and taking a bunch of pictures, like just because Jameson wants him to or whatever. Even if that, but it's like there's crime going on all the time. So how did you screw up your other job, Peter? Like you can't stop all the crime. Out, am I? I don't know how this kills all of these people, but it doesn't kill Harry. Now, oh, there's that. There's another extra. There's Spider-Man. She saw him before Goblin did. Now they did have an actual motorized, mechanized mask that they were testing out, and it actually looked really cool for the Green Goblin, but they didn't go and use it. They just used this kind of motorcycle helmet instead, which I think is still fine. I don't know. That kid's just like accepting his fate. Also, I don't think his lip sync matches up a lot of the times. Because I don't know if it's always Willem Dafoe in that outfit. Yeah, I love that. Impressive! And it just kicks him. Like, he sends him flying, and that guy might be dead. Yeah, look at this. Oh, he's so cool. He's like, I'm gonna use all these, like, little machine guns, and then I'm gonna hit you with a missile launcher. And thus begins the screaming of Mary Jane. And that, like, rock, or that piece of that railing that fell, that probably killed somebody. Did Spider-Man stop it? Nope. Hey, he pulled off the move that Bonesaw couldn't, just slamming him into the wall. Good job, Goblin. Now, again, that hit the mask and not his actual eyes. Also, I wonder how far Goblin got with that glider being all weird. You know, like, did he crash land on a building? Hmm. It's like, Mary Jane, you better hold on tight, because if you let go now, no bueno. They're like, good job, Spider-Man. It's funny, I remember these sequences being so much longer when I was younger. But now they're just like, nope, just a breeze. I do like that we get this shot of this kind of this rooftop garden, which I think may or may not be the same one that you see in the John Wick films. I feel like the costume falls apart just a little bit when he's standing there and talking to her, though. Like the ears or something. It's kind of weird. Oh, you can actually watch him run alongside the wall or the building here. Makes little noises. Oh, it's so good. Also, Harry, you're just talking to her now. It's nighttime. Like, did it take her that long to get home? I guess you didn't know where she was, but still, man. Oh, I guess he was knocked out. He does have kind of similar bone structure, though, to Willem Dafoe, kind of in the cheeks. I see the resemblance. Both of them look like they could be Willem's kid. That's one thing I hate in movies. I hate hearing the dial tone when you haven't heard the person talk the whole time. You just hear that it like is hung up. It's like, come on, that doesn't make any sense. Harry just looks bored. Like he's like, you should know I'm crazy about her. Yeah, whatever. It was some crazed man on a glider. What else did you think it was? I want to know how much that penthouse costs. He must have bought it, right? Here we go. Now, from interviews, I've heard one in particular, if I remember correctly, Willem Dafoe said that they did this entire conversation between the two of them in one shot. But the way that you see it edited is they cut it back and forth between the two, which is kind of unfortunate. It'd be kind of cool to see the one long take. I love all the stance changes and everything. So good. So you can see there a little bit. So I guess that was more of like the one full take. See, here's where they cut back and forth between the two. And his hair is a bit different too. See, his hair is a little crazier with the goblin form. Oh, he's so good. That voice is perfect. Oh, he's so good. Willem Dafoe. It's weird too that Jameson like names these guys, and then most of the villains are like totally cool with it. They're like, yeah. So you like think this scene's gonna end one way, and then the cigar gets thrown back in, and you're like, wait, what? It's like Green Goblin's like waiting for that moment. It's so good. It's so nice of him to defend Peter. Ah, it's so good. Sleep. I love that too. See, Goblin's got all the fun tricks. And I respect that instead of trying to murder him immediately, Goblin's like, maybe we could be buddies. And he didn't unmask him either, which he easily could have. To each his own. I love this because Green Goblin makes a really good point. They want a martyr, you know? Like, that suit is pretty cool still, too. Like, Green Goblin's, there's like a lot of cool texture to it. Like, what would they make together, though? That's what I want to know. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of like what Green Goblin's endgame would be like. I guess he and Spidey would terrorize New York unchecked. I'm not sure. Power of the press, man. Making Spidey seem like a bad guy. I love that. Your mom told my aunt, told me. It's like, that's how it would, you'd hear about it. So Peter probably lied. He probably like swung over there, you know? He didn't take two buses and a cab. Oh, you know why he's so interested. Come on, MJ. It's like clearly she has the upper hand on him here. It's so funny. I gotta get the tiger in there. It's MJ's little nickname for him. I wonder why she calls him Tiger. Peter's like, I'm gonna beat those creeps up. I like how you kind of see that he's like taking off a shoe, like he's in the process of getting the costume already. It's like these four guys are like waiting to attack her. It's like, it's pretty messed up. She puts up a decent fight there for a bit. Like, what, are they just gonna stab her? Like, I like how he kind of wrangles four of them all at the same time like that. And Spidey is incredibly strong, so he like pulls his punches because otherwise he'd like knock people out and murder them, which I always try to think about too. Especially when you fight somebody like Doc Ock, where you could just one punch him. He's basically One Punch Man. How does she not hear his voice? How does she know right where the mask is? And how does him saying wait prove that like she understands not to take the whole mask off? Ah, such an iconic scene. I love it. Ugh, it's so good. I feel like they have more chemistry in this scene than like any other. He's like, and then I watched her go have dinner with my friend, my best friend. Oh, yes. And now we get kind of a comical scene almost. It's slightly scary. Also, I'm interested to know like how that lady left her baby in there. Like, how did that happen? And that lady's got freaking eagle eyes, man. She saw a spider coming from like a mile away. And around a corner, maybe? I don't know. Like, was there any way that he wasn't gonna save the baby? Like, you get this, and, like, the suspense build up, and she's starting to freak out. And then you get, like, this explosion here. There it is. Take that baby to the hospital, man. That inhaled too much smoke. What if she was like, this isn't my baby? He should have said something like, you need to hire a better babysitter. uh. So, like, did the Green Goblin, like, start this fire? Is the real question. Or did he just see this as an opportunity to sneak in? I'm thinking it's the former, but, like, how? How did he do this? The visuals in the scene, though, are really, really good. Boom. Is that any way to talk to your potential new partner? He, like, already knows he's not going to be in. And the Razor Bats. I do like this. It's such a cool shot. Like, Razor bats are so cool. I love the pumpkin bombs. I just love all of his kit. It's good dodge. I like Spidey using the webs in his combos. That's always good. Spidey just leaves. He's like, I'm out. He like comes out of the trance in the elevator. It's so good. He's like sweaty too. He's like, Yeah, MJ, stop like smelling the food. How dare you? This is very important. We've been dating for months and my father's never met you for some odd reason because we started dating at the end of June and now it's November. And my dad's making jokes about work was murder and everyone's laughing, but we don't know why. And she's wearing the black dress, which is great. Oh my gosh, what a creep. It's so creepy. He's like still semi-goblin. Like he's like checking out MJ. It's like, Again, their loft is so cool. I kind of like to see... Let's like look at Peter's room here. Let's assess. He's got some pictures on the wall. Photographer, you know. Also, this drop of blood is like a fountain. Also, if Storm and Norman makes a weekly inspection, how has he not seen the room before? Gee, like, that's... that. Oh, it's just like a lot of blood. So he must have scampered out right there. And I love how he's immediately suspicious. Like, how dare him? Like... Nice job, Pete. How long did he make him sit there? So funny. And probably he forgot and actually had to go get them in real time, which is also kind of funny. And Parker. He like loves him, but he'll never call him Peter. Well, I mean, he will, but just usually his term of endearment is just Parker. Why would you slap him? Don't you understand that if anyone transgresses against Norman in even the smallest way, he's gonna try to kill you? Or at least just terrorize you and your dreams forever. So part of the goblin formula must be like heightened senses, and he like memorized that wound, which is pretty good. Also, if I were Green Goblin, and I'm not, I'm just saying, maybe lace your razor bats and other weapons with poison or paralysis. Stick to your story there, Pete. Don't even try to say it like kind of casual, like, oh, bike messenger knocked me down. No. Sell the lie. Peter's like, eh. He left the door open for Harry. That was nice. They're snarling at your trust fund like a pack of ravening wolves. Ugh. Oh my gosh. Again, though, we're starting to see more and more of the Green Goblin slip into, you know, Norman's personality, or we should just say maybe Norman's baser instincts. And poor Pete, it's like everyone forgot he was there. But I kind of like the drama and kind of the ties between all of them. It's interesting. Betrayal must not be countenanced. Huh. The goblin's very intelligent. Attack the heart. I like that Green Goblin also just refers to him as Osborn. Like, that's kind of a thing. Like, wow. It's a cool visage there with Green Goblin coming through the smoke like that. It's sweet. So he blew up part of her house just to get Peter's attention. And he's like, ah, goodness. But just think about it for like 5 seconds, Peter. Yeah, he's like, he knows who I am. Who could it be? Who recently has seemed to act a little differently and maybe made a big fuss when you started talking about the one wound that you got from this one encounter that happened the same day? Come on, Pete. Not that hard. Yeah. I do like that we get a shot there, that picture of them as a family, like clearly years ago, or supposedly years ago. It's kind of a rough couple of days here for this kind of group of people. It's like Norman was super mean to Harry and MJ, and now this, and it's all connected though, like a spider's web. Perfect metaphor. You're welcome. And I said like, so probably more of a simile. I'm in love with somebody else. Aunt May's like, perfect time to snoop. I love that he's just like, oh, him. He's like, of course, the girl of my dreams is crazy about me, but it's not actually me. Gosh. Oh, Pete. Pete, you should have seen this coming. You should have rehearsed. What are you doing? Making a fool of yourself? Everything feels not quite normal. Come on, Pete. and at the same time, and at the same time. And I get it, because Peter's talking from the heart right now. He hasn't rehearsed this, and this is what he really feels. So I respect it, though. I'm like, eh. But it goes on for a while. He's still talking about this. Yeah. Good job, Peter. Good cover. She'll totally buy it. Aunt May's like, oh goodness, we're going to have to talk to Peter. I would love it so much if MJ just like looked at Peter and was like, thanks for putting in a good word for me with Spidey. Appreciate that. And I love that they drop their hands like right away. And like Harry's like crooning his neck. Just so awkward. And then you don't get to see the resolution of this scene. That's the problem. I hate when they cut away like that. I'm like, I want to see how that ends. I love to think that just Norman's sitting in a room somewhere just laughing away. He's like, huh? They're throwing around love a lot, pretty liberally here. I'm just trying to, just saying, I don't know. I like that you look at Norman's outfit and it's a little disheveled, you know. It's good. Rectify certain inequities. What are you talking about, Dad? That's what I would ask. The struggle of the Osborns. That's something that I want to see again in a Spider-Man film. Also, I don't know what's up with all these jump scares and stuff. Like, why do they have Goblin there? It's so weird. Hey, thanks, Aunt May. Appreciate that. Thanks for the kind words. Aunt May's got a little sass. Not Superman, you know. Look, another DC nod. We get it. Peter liked Mary Jane before he knew that he liked girls, or whatever. And he'd been infatuated with her ever since, and barely spoken to her except for the past few months. Yes, it would be dangerous for Mary Jane to know how much he cares, because they could put her in horrible danger, but at the same time, it doesn't matter, because that's going to happen anyway. Ah, payphones. Good times. Old times. Sing your song at the beep. Remember that. She uses that in the next movie, too, I believe. It's kind of like her answering machine. That's just what she uses. Don't go up any dark alleys. Don't go down any dark alleys. I love that. Can Spider-Man come out to play? He's like, the Brooklyn Bridge. Be there, be square. I don't know if it's actually the Brooklyn Bridge, But every bridge in New York is the Brooklyn Bridge to me because I just don't know New York that well. So Goblin must have used his sleeping gas on Mary Jane. Or not, because, like, she would be paralyzed still, right? I don't know. He probably has different types of weapons for this sort of thing. Not only would it be terrifying to be up there, but then also just, like, in your pajamas, you're like, oh, great. Good. That would be equal parts terrifying and really cool. I like that there's like a little xylophone in the background playing the song there. It's great. Like, look at that explosion, man. Goblin's packing literal heat, man. He is ready to rock. I really love it. He's just like decided to destroy the trolley. Goblin's pretty strong to like one arm this. Like, that's pretty good. What if he miscalculated and that thing just went right to the ground? It also would have been great if he set all this up and was waiting, and he waited like hours for Peter to show up. I love the use of the flagpoles there to get the momentum. It's so cool. They really had a lot of fun with how like Spidey swings in and around stuff. No, her slippers. Ugh. Yeah, so it makes sense that he's going to run and try to grab Mary Jane first, because then, you know, he can go for the trolley, because if he goes for the trolley first, then he's definitely not going to get Mary Jane. We are who we choose to be. Now choose. I love that. There's so many good lines in this movie, I think. But of course, this isn't like an impossible choice. It would have been even better. Like right here, you kind of think like, oh, is Spidey just picking Mary Jane? Is he like, I've chosen Mary Jane? Like, you know. But he's like, nope, I can do both. He's like, I'm dying. How is Goblin seeing that? Aren't they like located directly under the bridge? No, I guess they kind of swung over the side, but still. Goblin, he should have made it an impossible choice. Like, he should have strapped bombs to both of them. He's like, you have to climb down, otherwise we're all gonna die. I like how he kind of tries to modify his voice here a little bit, because she would probably realize that it's Peter, but still. Oh, I love this. It's like, it's so hard, you know, to like watch your hero, you know, get in a fight with villains that are just as strong, if not stronger than they are, but then also just to not be able to fight back. It's just like he's getting these free hits. The use of slow mo in this movie is also pretty good, I think, too. Oh, Mary Jane, your like fingers are not broken, but still. So there aren't any New Yorkers up there yet on the bridge, and I like how you see like some of his suits like peeling off onto the actual like cable. Yeah, how did that New Yorker get that hit? I like how they're like, he's picking on the guy who's trying to save a bunch of kids. Goblin's the guy who set this up, man. Like, come on now. Like, what would happen right now if Goblin went and he just started murdering all of them? Like, what would Spider-Man do? Like, right now? Yeah. A little tow cable. See, no one's throwing stuff anymore. They just gave up. This fight scene's pretty good. And it's brutal. This might be, besides the end of Spider-Man 3, the most brutal fight we see. Ugh. Takes the grenade to the face. Here comes one of my favorite little screams that Spidey does, too. I'll call it out, don't worry. Mm-hmm. Here it comes. Don't worry. Wait for it. Right here when he hits the ground. It's so funny. Oh, I love it. Yeah, like he's just getting just destroyed. I like that he has to like rip through this razor, like, or it almost sounds like razor wire that he's ripping through there. Like Spidey's webs. It's so cool. Oh, he does like dynamic entry there. That's really cool. Good job, Green Goblin. He's been watching some Naruto. I don't know where Green Goblin gets this little torture tool that he pulls out. I know all these lines. I've memorized them. It's not a good thing, probably. See, look at this thing. He's got this huge like electrical tripod thing. It's like, where did you get that, Gabo? Yeah, it's where the fight turns. That's why, Goblin, you should stay on your glider. I also got Shredder vibes, too, from this. It reminds me of the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies. Just kind of the hand coming out of the rubble. Yeah, that Goblin formula is pretty good. Starts messing him up. Just, it's so good. Yeah, it would have been kind of cool to see the mask, like the fully motorized mechanical mask, but I think this one's still okay. He killed those people on the balcony. He's done some other pretty messed up stuff, too. Also, like, what is the button that he presses here? Like, does it make it just hover in proximity? Thank God for you. I love it. Where he says, Godspeed, Spider-Man. Oh, gosh. I love these lines. Coming full circle here. It's like such a well lit, like terrifying, like building that was destroyed. I don't know, like was just like this demolished, dilapidated building area. Also, he gets stabbed in a bad spot there. I guess the shock is what killed him there. Still, don't tell Harry. That's like everybody's thing. Like, don't tell Harry. Don't tell Harry. That's because Harry living in ignorance is just a good way to live. Ugh, I kind of feel bad for Harry. So, like, Peter brought him back, took him out of his goblin clothes, and wrapped him in, like, a black sheet. You know? You know what I'm saying? Kind of weird. What have you done? What have you done? Yep. Used to watch this a lot. He pulls out a little gun from the table. I recorded this stuff on my cell phone back in the day, and I always have these little voice recordings or from the movie. Just when I'm having a bad day, just a funny little thing to put in there. He's like, hey, Harry. Sorry about your dad getting stabbed and stuff weirdly and dying. Because Spider-Man would definitely do that to him. Couldn't we just try to blame the Green Goblin, and cover this whole thing up? Pete's like, yep, we're brothers. Oh, goodness. That's kind of why I think Harry should have been the main villain of Spider-Man 3. And just the most compelling, just to kind of see that arc. But they made do with it. There's a lot of studio interference at the top, so what you gonna do? I also like that Mary Jane got invited to that funeral. It's kind of weird. I think it's smart too that they didn't put any years there too to show how old Uncle Ben was or what year it was now. It's smart. I feel like Peter just is like dead. Like his eyes, he's just kind of like, eh. Like he looks kind of bored. Has always been there for her. I don't know if I believe this. If she broke out into song here, I would have loved it. Just rhyming up a storm. I give Mary Jane props for just going for it. Like, good on her. You know what? She's like, I love you. I want to be with you. You're the person I was thinking about when I almost died. Like a few days ago. Well, you can. Because, like, the only supervillain who knew about your secret identity is dead. I don't know. I get what he's doing. I do. But with great power comes great responsibility. And he kind of has to friend zone her. See, I feel the most sympathy for Mary Jane in this moment because it's kind of one of the last times you see her being just so honest and so vulnerable. And we don't really get that in 2. We get some more of it in 3, but it's more of she's just frustrated with Peter and Spider-Man and all that. It would have been so great if she would have been like, "Are you Spider-Man?" or "Hey, Spider-Man," and he turned around. So my gift and my curse. I love it. The double-edged sword of being Spider-Man. Also, just for a little kind of point of reference here, we kind of have the New Yorkers banding together, and this was after the September 11th attacks, and Spider-Man kind of being an American hero, the colors, kind of playing into the flag and stuff, and you will see that in the other films too, that these kind of poignant moments, like right here, like it's, for America, which is cool. I like it. I don't know. I just enjoy that. Well, there you have it, everybody. That is Spider-Man, the first of the Sam Raimi trilogy. I hope you guys had a good time. I know I sure did. Oh, there it was. Bruce Campbell. I was trying to think of his name the whole time. Bruce Campbell, the guy who was supposed to be Mysterio. He was the wrestling announcer in this one. He's the the play attendant in the next one, and the third one, he's the maitre d' of the fancy restaurant. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. This movie still holds up. Obviously, some of the CG is not great, and I'm maybe not as big a fan of Tobey Maguire as I used to be, but I still think he plays a really good Peter Parker, but not necessarily a great Spider-Man. I think Tom Holland probably gets both those roles a little bit better, which I enjoy. So, yeah. Also, like I said before, I love Green Goblin, so getting more Green Goblin is always a good thing, and I just really hope we can see a really, really faithful representation one day here, where it's not kind of tied up like Amazing Spider-Man 2 that kind of pushed him in at the end there. It was kind of weird, but yeah, here's hoping for some of that in the future. Again, this was chosen by our Centurion Simon over on Patreon, so if you guys are interested in supporting the channel besides liking and subscribing here, you can go over to Patreon, and if you donate at the $25 tier, I believe, per month, you get to help choose our monthly podcast, our monthly what is this? Movie commentary. That's what this is. It's not a podcast, it's a movie commentary. I should know the difference between the two. But yeah, it's late. What can I say? But yes, thank you, Simon. And thank you to everybody who's donating on Patreon or who just listened to this whole thing. If you did listen to the whole thing, then, oh, look at Kevin Feige right there. Production executive for Marvel, Kevin Feige. Kevin was working way back in the day. You just don't know it. The hashtag is Webhead. Hashtag Webhead. Webhead. There we go. Tweet it at me. I'm at JimmyGoods013 on Twitter. Yeah, look forward to the next ones. And I know I've kind of been slacking on these a little bit, but we're going to do this one. I'm going to do Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3 kind of in tandem, kind of celebrating the next Spider-Man movie, which is about to come out as I record this, which is Spider-Man Far From Home. So looking forward to that. Either way, thank you so much for joining me, Legionnaires. I really do appreciate it. Love and hugs to all of you. And just remember to adapt and overcome.